Thank you all for joining us for the June 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Aldermen. We're going to begin as we typically do. That's with a prayer and a pledge. So please stand and bow your heads and join me for prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together, and thank you for this opportunity to serve you, and thank you for the gifts, talents, and abilities you provided for us, and also the wisdom that you provide us. Help us to use those to do your work here and do your work as we leave here. Help us also to remember the grace that you've provided us and the many other earthly items that you've provided us, especially the people who protect us here, people who protect us far away, and the wonderful parts that are, or the wonderful aspects that are part of our community. Help us again to do your work here and do your work as we leave here. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I'm going to entertain a motion to accept our agenda, and I want to make sure that we all see, at least acknowledge that items, we have two groups. The first is under ordinances and resolutions. That's items C, D, E, F, G, H, and I as our first group. Second group is items A, B, C, D, and that's under other agenda items. If anybody would like to pull those out from being considered as a group, please go ahead and make that statement now. Otherwise, I'm going to entertain a motion to accept the agenda. I have a motion from Alderman Waters to accept the agenda. Second. And a second from Alderman Dixon. All those in favor of accepting our agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. We have an agenda. Next, we have presentations. None. Public hearing. We have a public hearing on Ordinance 2021-22 to hear comments on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021-22. Nobody has signed up for that. We are finished with that public hearing. Now we have minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve our June 8th, 2021 meeting minutes. We have a motion from Alderman Hayes and a second from Alderman Waters. Did I hear that correctly? Appreciate that. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes from June 8, 2021, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have citizen comments. I have one person signed up. It's been a little while, so I need to read the guidelines that we have. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per individual, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, that's me, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with different views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. David Giles, Saveley Court.
Good evening. David Giles, 104 Saveley Court. I don't get a chance to come up here much. As y'all know, I travel a lot, out of town a lot, but I wanted to come tonight because I'm probably going to be moving in a few months, and wanted to take opportunity. A few things got under my craw. You know, it's good that the board is working together now, from what I hear, and there's a lot of harmony, but there's still some division. And I think it's still sad that when ordinances come up, controversial ordinances, I love it when everybody votes yay or nay, but you can still say who's going to vote yay and who's going to vote nay without, sometimes it's just a process you go through. You know where the no votes are and you know where the yes votes are. And I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong. I'm just saying that that's the way it is, and seems like that's the way it's always going to be. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight is that we're not supposed to be a political body. And that's something maybe the mayor just said to begin with. We're supposed to be elected to represent the citizens, not based on politics. And social media should be a good way to communicate to all of your constituents, but you also have the right to opinions, and everybody can keep their opinions, put them right out there. I know I do a lot, and I get blasted because I do, but everybody here is entitled to an opinion. Where I think it crosses the line, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with me, is when you start bringing down citizens or bringing down businesses in the city. I'd like to say everybody here, I think, is familiar with Starbucks. There's 5 Starbucks locations in the city of Hendersonville, 5. They employ over 100 employees. About 80% of those are Hendersonville residents. They pay city taxes, property taxes, sales taxes. They patronize other businesses in the city. And needless to say, their employees pay taxes as well. So it's disheartening when you see an elected official posting on social media the following sentence: Starbucks hates cops and veterans, but loves Democrats, and that's Democrats, no C in there. It would be a shame if you shared this and they lost business. I mean, isn't that preposterous? An elected official encouraging you not to do business with a local city business that's paying taxes and hiring employees in the city that are paying taxes. You know, I know some businesses in the city and in my ward, Ward 6, that are owned by Democrats or Democrats, if you want to call them. Those people are part of this city. Y'all represent Republicans, Democrats, gay people, straight people, black people, white people. You shouldn't be out there discriminating against them or slamming them because they have differing views than you do. You represent everybody in your ward, everybody in your city. And there's several other posts, but this one really got to me, you know, because I know some people that work at Starbucks, and they're good people. And I know some Democrat businesses here in town that are afraid to speak up because of things like this. But there's 2 Starbucks in my ward. Like I say, I don't want to go on and on about it, but I really think that elected officials, if you got opinions, hey, you're entitled to them all day long. But I don't think you should put things on social media that basically says don't patronize a local business. That's just crossing the line, in my opinion. Another thing tonight on the agenda, I understand that there's, and I don't know, I haven't seen it, try to stay out of politics, but I understand that the budget, I believe the mayor's asking for a car allowance. I just found this out this afternoon. I, as a citizen, would be against that. I think he should follow the same protocol as everybody else. If you use your car, you're definitely entitled for reimbursement, but you should furnish a list saying what you used it for and have to then get reimbursed instead of just a blank allowance for that.
Mr. Giles, 20 seconds.
All right, but that's it. Thank you. I thank you for your time. I thank everybody here that's helped me through the last few years. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item A under ordinance and resolutions. This is second and final reading of ordinance 2021-22. This is an ordinance to adopt a city budget and to appropriate funds for the fiscal year 2021-22. I so move. A second from Alderman Waters. I'm not going to read the whole highlights that we've talked about in workshops and in Finance Committee and all the other committees. One thing I will make sure that to be completely transparent about this is this budget does include the restoration of 3 salaries in the executive department. Like I said, I've talked about that many, many times. I want to make sure that that is part of this discussion here. Alderman Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to amend the budget ordinance by attaching to it the staff summary report on the budget and by incorporating its contents by reference and by adopting the pay increases listed for the executive department personnel and the mayor, along with the $4,000 compensation for the mayor as a cell phone/car allowance. Second. So moved.
We have a motion and a second from Alderman Robertson. Any discussion? Go ahead. Alderman Collins.
I just have a question. Will that list the salaries by each person specifically? Is that what's
Jesse, you want
part
to help
of what
us with
we're
that?
attaching?
So Jesse wrote the memo, so maybe we ask him those questions. So, yeah. Got it.
Thank you.
Divided by email.
So
Same thing.
in the summary report, the staff summary report, which follows the budget, See if I can get the page that's on here.
And this was
58.
This was emailed Friday. Am I right, Jesse?
So page 59.
So page 58, 59, and 60 is a staff summary report.
Okay.
And this is just in order to be completely transparent with what's going on, and it's a high-level view of what's in the budget. And on a go-forward, I've asked staff to include these summary reports on every resolution and ordinance that comes before BOMA and before committees, just to, sometimes when you read through a budget or a large document, it's not always real clear exactly what's going on. So these summary reports are just to condense it, give you a quick snapshot of what's going on. So everything that's talked about as far as executive department salaries are outlined in this staff summary report on page 59.
So Alderman Hayes, what you're asking is that staff summary report be part of the budget document?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Referenced and attached.
Okay.
I appreciate the transparency in this. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Hayes, Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, when I read this, I thought the summary was good. I would like to ask a couple questions. We sit here 2 weeks ago, nobody said a word, and that's really unusual for me at budget time, so I couldn't have been on vacation 6 days, so I can probably talk a couple hours, but I'll try to narrow it down to about 5 minutes. If I could ask either Jesse or Robert, Robert's kind of the numbers guy here through this whole budget. In this summary, since we are going to add it basically as an amendment, addendum to the budget, is there anything in here, that's not the right question. We had some controversy over salaries, over one particular salary last year. I don't know if that takes care of all this with everything listed, not that particular person necessarily, but it takes care of any controversies that we might have in this one. Is there everything that was in the budget? Is everything in this summary that we should have to make sure that there's no, just trying to stitch the seam a little bit tighter, I guess is what I'm asking.
In my opinion, it does resolve that issue.
Okay, it resolves all issues. All right. That being said, I would like to say that to the budget, and this is from constituents, pro and con, some for and some against, that the word restoration, I think is a bad word, Mayor. A simple fact, in March, we restored his salary to $85,000 from $46,000 last November. And you're now requesting and asking for a $6,000 raise along with a $4,000 allowance. That's another $20,000. So I had several constituents today tell me they were not in favor of that. Here's what I told them, that I'm not in favor of it either. I do not think that we should give the mayor 2 raises in a 6-month period when he or she knew exactly what they were running for in November of last year. Now, we did that in March, and it looks like we're probably going to do it again now. But I would like to state that I don't like that. I think that's wrong. I think we're misusing funding from the city taxpayers to do that. Okay, now that being said, I would tell you that I will support the budget simply for the fact I think we've come far enough. There's been some push and shove and give and take on both sides of this table, on your side and on our side. I hope we can continue to voice our opinions and still get along, but I think restoration is not the right word. I don't want to use, I'm not even going to try to think of a word. I just don't think that's the right word. Although I do know that 2 years ago, what the mayoral salary was. I also know that by appropriating money for CA and having the mayoral salary at $46,000, and not following through with that, as we decided to do as a board, and hiring a COO and bumping a salary to $102,000, One of the things that was said along this board, and whoever who said it will know who you are, and those of you who are not here who said it will know who you are too, that we just couldn't afford to do that. We couldn't hire a CA and pay the mayor. Now we have a COO, and we're bumping the mayor to $102,000, which is a whole lot more money than a CA and what we had the mayor at before. So in that being transparent, I want everybody to know that out there that cares. The ones that are watching, the ones that will look at YouTube, the ones that will pay attention to the budget and say it went smooth. I think it has went smooth. But I just want those facts to be said, that I just don't think that's the right thing to do, but I'm not 100% in agreement with everything we put in the parks budget or the fire budget or the police budget. I would like to see more in some places and less in others. But we've compromised to that point, so I think I'm at 6 minutes. That's all I have to say.
Alderman Brown, thank you. Alderman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree with my colleague in Ward 4, what he just said regarding the increases in pay over the 8-month period, I guess. But I'd also like to sort of question the $4,000 car allowance, which is something new. I know in the past I have called and asked for the mayor's itinerary so I could work out a meeting time, because I work and he works. We both have jobs to do during the course of a day. So I need to look at his itinerary to see what's available in time to possibly sit down with him to discuss things. And I was told, I'm sorry, nobody here at City Hall has his itinerary. He keeps his own itinerary. How can I work into my schedule, working out with the mayor, a meeting that we might need to have related to city business? And if I'm calling the mayor, believe me, it's related to city business. So along with that $4,000, I would like to see an itinerary attached to that $4,000. A weekly itinerary. I mean, he knows right now where he's got to go this week for the remainder of the week, some of the things. I know things change, and he has to slide things in. He cuts out time just like I do. I mean, I cover southern Kentucky, Tennessee, parts of Alabama, and North Georgia sometimes working. And sometimes I'll be in Alabama, the next day I might be in Clarksville or Fort Campbell. And I have to and then I might be doing a job over in Bowling Green. And I have to shuffle things, move things, and accommodate things. And then, I got calls about trash and a pothole or a drainage issue. And I work that into my schedule as well. I move things around. I'll stop by on my way home, walk through your ditch, and look at whatever I need to. But the mayor is the full-time and paid employee here at the City Hall. We should have some form of an itinerary to where we can look at it and say, Mayor, can I cut out an hour with you on Friday afternoon at 2:30 to discuss drainage in Ward 2 or fixing Saunders Ferry Road, which is a hot topic right now, because I know Saunders Ferry Road needs to be repaired, and we're going to push on getting that repaired in the near future. So am as well going to vote for this budget. I don't like all the compromises that were put into it, and I'm not crazy about the $4,000 for the car allowance, because that is new. And matter of fact, I'd like to make a motion that it comes with a itinerary attached to the $4,000. If someone would like to second that motion right now to attach it to this budget.
That doesn't necessarily, we're going to have to take that up in a minute. Your motion needs to, if you're going to amend the amendment, it needs to apply to what the motion is on the floor. That doesn't really apply to this amendment.
Okay.
So we can come back to you after we
That'd be
discuss
fine.
this.
That'd be fine, sir.
Okay.
Oh, that's all I have to say, sir. Thank you.
Alderman Campbell, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question, and maybe Robert can answer this on the car allowance. Is this going to be a 1099 where this will be taxable income for the mayor? Because when I got a car allowance with my former corporation, it was taxable income.
Correct. It is a fringe benefit that'll be taxed the same as
Okay, and then
compensation.
because we had a choice whether to get a monthly car allowance or to claim mileage, and the mileage was not taxable.
Right.
Because that was reimbursable income. I mean, it wasn't considered income, it was
Right.
just
You've already
a
been.
tit for tat, you know. So the mayor realizes it's taxable income? Okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. In the summary of the executive department, It says the executive department also included $4,000 for cell phone and car allowance for the mayor. So is that what that's for?
Yes, it's a combo of the two.
Have we typically paid for cell phone allowance? I thought all folks here had a cell phone provided by the city.
We've not typically paid for cell phones. Well, excuse me, the city's typically paid to have a cell phone for the employee, not pay for, not give an allowance. I'm sorry, if I confused that even more. I meant to say, we don't typically pay for a cell phone allowance.
So why are we doing that?
That is the request as it was submitted.
Alderman Petrelli, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, I just have a general question on the budget, so I guess I'd like to stay in the queue until after the amendment is
You're the
voted.
last one in the queue.
Okay.
So do you want to speak on this amendment, or?
No.
We'll come back to you.
On the budget.
Okay, okay.
Amended budget.
So we've got a motion, a proper second to amend the budget that we include the staff report that was emailed to everybody last Friday as part of the budget document. So.
Home run, by the way.
All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying, we'll press buttons. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by pressing the green button. Those opposed, please press the red button. So we've got one person who hasn't voted. Jason, I can't see.
No, up here.
There we go. It's Alderman Waters. There we go.
There you go.
Okay. And it passes unanimously. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah. Mayor, I've just got a question. If the police department gets approval to place more cameras, the license plate cameras, is there flexibility in the budget that we would be able to pay for those? We're having some problems with vandalism in Ward 6, where they're getting off there at that exit there by Glenbrook. And I just wanted to make sure that if we're given approval for additional cameras, that the budget would have flexibility to pay for those additional license plate readers.
Jesse? Hold on here. Now you're good.
Thank you. Great question. So the budget appropriates the total amount for the year. So if we need to shift towards purchases of cameras, we can absolutely do that. And then again, this year we're going to bring the budget back mid-year and do a mid-year review. So at that point too, if we see the need for additional cameras at that point, or we had to shift expenses, which we need to reallocate expenses, we can do that during the mid-year process as well. But we do have flexibility within the budget to shift and purchase more cameras if needed.
Yeah, and may I ask the chief, Chief a question? Chief Miller?
Yeah.
Where do we stand on?
Hold on. Chief Miller, you're going to have to come up here, though.
And my question, Chief, as you're coming forward, just to save time, I think that we have requested to put some cameras at the exits off 286 onto New Shackle, and I just was wondering what the status of those.
We're still waiting on approval for everything we've turned into the state. So it's just a matter of the law's there that allows it. So it's just a matter of them going through their processes to get it approved.
Perfect. I just wanted that on the record. Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick comment about the budget. I think it's fiscally responsible budget that we have this year. I don't agree with everything 100%, but I agree with everything 99.9% in it. So I know that there was some give and take on both sides, and I am especially so excited about having our fund balance policy. And this is the first year that we have incorporated a line item to accommodate that, so that we can start reaching our goal of having a 16.9% fund balance in coming years, more of a strategic plan that has been incorporated in the budget. So I thank everybody that was involved, all the department heads, the mayor, Jesse, the whole board, especially our finance director. And I know you guys worked yourselves to the bone on this. So I just wanted to express my appreciation and my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Campbell, I neglected to come back to you. Feel free to give me a shout tomorrow. We'll schedule a time to meet.
Well, I'm just saying, no,
Hold on here.
turn
Go ahead.
I want to see an itinerary to where, right now I'm fine. But say next week or the week after next or next month, I might have an issue that I need to get in touch with the mayor to have a discussion with you about it. And we're giving you an additional $4,000, and I would sort of like to see some accountability added to that $4,000 to have an itinerary that's here at City Hall that anyone, even a citizen that calls up that would like to know the mayor's itinerary for the week or the day, they could say, well, he's in City Hall today, but he has meetings from 8:30 till 4:30, and he's maxed out. And, I understand that. I understand being busy. But there's also times within a budget that I should be able to call the city recorder and find out, hey, can you tell me what's available next week to talk to Mayor Clary regarding whatever the issue may be? And sit down with you and have a quick conversation. I don't think you and I would have to have a 2-hour conversation on anything in particular, but there are times when, yes, I'd like to have a conversation with the mayor or with Mr. Eckenroth to discuss some city business and to move it forward. And one of the main things I have on my plate right now is Saunders Ferry road improvements. And between now and the time I leave office, you will continue to hear about Saunders Ferry road improvements. And I know we have $600,000 we talked about, Marshall. And I think the figure was $600,000, correct? And I would like to see us come up with $600,000 to start those improvements, because that is the most dangerous road in the city of Hendersonville, in my opinion. So, but if we're going to give the mayor $4,000 for a car allowance and a cell phone allowance, then I think we should look at possibly attaching just a simple itinerary to his weekly work schedule that's there that someone can look at and say, yes, he'll be in the office today from 2 to 3, or he's out the rest of the week. So, because there has been times when you've gone out of town and some of us didn't know you were out of town. So, anyways, that's just my opinion. And I'd like to put that in a line of a motion that, and if it gets shot down, it gets shot down. I'm fine with that too. But I'd like to make a motion that the $4,000 allowance, car allowance and phone allowance, comes with a itinerary attached to it for the year's budget.
We have a
budget year.
motion from Alderman Campbell, a second from Alderman Petrelli. I think two issues that you spoke of. One is the accountability. One is setting up meetings with me. Give me a shout, 615-824-5999. We can set up meetings. Have never heard anybody else here say they've had a hard time getting a hold of me. Hold on, let me finish. The other thing is, as far as accountability, I'm happy to provide my schedule after the fact.
Sometimes I might need to know it before the fact.
I am not going to give up my schedule ahead of time. And there's a very simple reason. Right now, intentionally, there is only twice a month where the whole world knows where I am. And that's every other Tuesday night at 7 o'clock.
I understand that.
When you have people threatening you from across the country, saying that they plan to meet you in the parking lot, saying that they plan to come to your house, saying that they can't wait till they see you in public, and I can give you about 40 more emails worth of comments that have been made to me.
Sure.
Of why my itinerary and schedule will not be made public.
Okay, sir. You don't have to talk
And
to me
I am
like
happy
that.
to provide it after the fact.
Well,
But 2 Tuesday nights ago, I spent the whole day with 2 police officers by my side everywhere I went.
okay.
And the reason for that was because anybody could find out where I was that day. And it was very obvious where I was that day. I am not going to do that every day of my life.
Okay.
If you would like to withdraw this, I think that we can work out something.
Well, in relationship to someone showing up at your house, when we were having our deer herd committee meetings, I did have a person come to my house and get out of his car with a compound bow, with the arrow in hand, and he said, let's kill some deer. Drew it back. My wife was freaking out, said, there's some guy on the front porch out there with a compound bow. What do? I didn't call the police and have him arrested. I didn't call anybody for security. I get that. I walked outside and had a nice little conversation about the deer because his car was totaled out on 386 by deer. And he was letting me know he was upset about it. Therefore, I understand people getting upset and making accusations and threats. Believe me, as an alderman, been here 6 years, there are people that make some comments on Facebook and social media that are alarming, and you just say,
It doesn't compare to what
I
I've been
think-
through the past 10 months.
10 months?
It does not compare.
10 months, okay, I didn't know
I've been
that.
getting the emails for 10 months. It just became public in the past month. What
Okay.
you are talking about does not compare to what me and my 2 children have been through the past 10 months.
I didn't know it was going on for 10 months, sir. I haven't heard all the inside details of what you've been going on, but you're sharing with me now,
Again,
and I
I'm
appreciate
happy
it.
to provide my itinerary and my schedule after the fact. I'm happy to set up meetings.
All right. Well, Alderman Petrelli, the $4,000, would you like to withdraw, would you like for me to withdraw this motion, or? Okay, let Alderman Petrelli speak to it, sir. if you don't mind.
Alderman Collins is next. Alderman Collins.
Would it be a friendly, I would like to amend the amendment to include that the itinerary be provided at the end of each week
That's fine.
in retrospect.
I think that'd be an appropriate
In a-
amendment if you want to make it.
Okay.
I second
Okay.
that
And we have
Pat,
a
are
second
you-
from Alderman Robertson.
Okay.
So do we want to change the main motion on the amendment? Alderman Petrelli, do you agree with that? Okay, we'll come back to you. So we're going to change the motion that the mayor's itinerary be provided at the end of each week. Okay, okay. Alderman Collins, anything else?
I want to say that I think we are all very sorry for what you are experiencing. And of course, it's a difficult time for you. And so we want to be supportive of what your needs are for safety for your family.
Thank you. Thank you. Alderman Waters. Thank you, Alderman Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really shocked that my colleague in Ward 2 would bring this up about a deer man, but let's compare the mayor to a committee on a deer herd committee. It's no comparison. This guy has been under a lot of pressure, I know, for some time, just on account of what kind of a development we're going to be talking about now and in the future. So I will not be in favor of any kind of amendment, but I do appreciate my colleague on my left here, her amendment. I would support that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I do respect your concern for your family. I just cannot imagine how scary that is. To a certain extent, I've experienced some of that. I think Assistant Police Jones knows some of the reports that I've filed. I think anybody that drives by my house sees the Stonehenge wall in front of my house. One time taking my son to the ER in Vanderbilt, I had to shoo people away from my driveway to be able to pull out my car to take my son to the Vanderbilt ER during the 2018 election. I've had tampons thrown in my driveway. I've had people in my backyard in the middle of the night screaming, yo, yo. So I completely respect and understand your concerns there. In regards to the amendment, I guess until this Kalika guy is arrested, for those of you that don't know, he's contacted everybody in City Hall now. He's contacted personnel. He's contacted aldermen this week. It's a very uncomfortable situation. I know I call police frequently to find out what is going on, since this man actually has a registered address on my street, or had one. Had 3 or 4 registered addresses in my ward. I would like the aldermen to be kept up to speed a little bit what's going on with this situation, because there's others of us up here who are consistently targeted. So, and to clarify, we weren't made known of the threat initially. I would like to make an amendment to the amendment that when Kalika is arrested, that then we could enact Alderman Campbell's itinerary idea. But until that time, I don't think that any mayoral itinerary should be released. Forward, backward, sideways, anything. If somebody needs to reach the mayor, we just ask that the mayor, return your call as soon as you can, or text or email or what have you. So that would be my amendment, that once the threat is apprehended, then we go back to itinerary.
Maybe the best thing to do, since we don't anticipate that happening soon,
Well, that's what I mean, we won't do anything until it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe we come back and discuss that after that happens. I don't want to get into too many specifics.
sure.
Okay. Appreciate that.
So where are we at with the amendment then?
The amendment is that I provide my itinerary at the end of every week.
Are you comfortable doing that?
I'm comfortable doing that. And
Okay.
it's after the fact.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's a little bit of work, but it's okay. So, okay. Alderman Campbell.
That amendment there, Mayor, but regarding that, but the first thing and everything, always want you and your family to be safe. As all of the aldermen up here, I want you to feel safe. And yes, Alderman Petrelli, I do recall the issues you've had in the past with those items you've talked about, because I've seen them firsthand, because I live right down the street and run the block from you there. But anyways, I just want to tell you, Mayor, that your family's safety and your safety are utmost important to us all. And some of us, like Alderman Petrelli pointed out, weren't even aware of this until, 60 days ago, maybe? Not even that, yeah. Yeah, till the newspaper article came out, I didn't know anything about it. So, yeah. So anyways, maybe some inner communication about safety among this board here would help out too, move us a long way in moving forward with issues such as this. But yes, I would support amending my amendment to after the fact itinerary for the mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Campbell, thank you. Alderman Collins.
It sounds like probably all of us have had little scary situations, not on the level of what you're experiencing. So maybe we need to do some kind of training or have some information from Chief Miller. But it occurs to me that maybe weekly is too frequently, and people could get this information because it would be public information and evaluate patterns in your schedule. So I'm kind of looking at Chief Miller, wondering if that is a valid, if there's a better way to do this, to.
My personal opinion is that, and professional opinion is that anytime you set out an itinerary or a schedule for any of y'all, that there could be a problem because, this is one person that we're talking about. If he's arrested, he's out of state right now, but if he's arrested, he's not going to stay in jail, and certainly there are many other people with the same propensity. So, laying out where you're going to be every day of the week, to me, from a safety standpoint, for any of y'all, would probably be a mistake.
If if the mayor reports that information after, not where he will be, but where he has been.
Yeah,
Is that a
unless
problem?
it's something like you just brought up, where there's a pattern showing, where they know every Thursday he's going to be at such and such or whatever. So, I believe it was your suggestion about, or maybe it was Peg's, about having the number and returning the phone calls as soon as possible. It's probably the best situation where you can keep it amongst yourselves that way. It's my opinion. Okay.
Thank you. That doesn't provide for accountability on the car allowance, which is the original goal. And unfortunately, anything that you write down and turn in is public information. So
I get that.
I really don't know how to proceed.
I would like to withdraw my motion.
Okay.
That's how you proceed.
Alderman Petrelli, do you want to withdraw your second? We can come back to this another time.
Sure, I was just going to say, maybe instead of giving out like a, post itinerary, just a summary. You don't even have to say, you can say, I met with these, whatever.
Hold on, we can't hear you. We're not sure why. Just a second. Now we're good.
Thank you. Maybe instead of giving a, post itinerary weekly, just for the reasons that Chief Miller mentioned, because I'm not a big fan of disclosing that. Anyway,
I think that's
just
reasonable.
a summary,
I think that's reasonable.
just a summary? Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe just amend it to a weekly summary?
I think that's reasonable. So that motion is off the floor now.
Okay, so I'll just make a motion for a weekly summary.
In the budget to require that?
So we have a motion to require the mayor to provide a weekly summary to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen at the end of every week.
In lieu of the itinerary.
We have a second.
Second.
Second from Alderman Campbell. Let's see.
No, I withdrew mine.
Okay.
It's a new amendment.
Hold on here. Alderman Brown.
I know.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it took 6 minutes. I'm only going to try to take 2 this time because I think we've, quite frankly, some of you probably get mad at me, but I think we spent way too much time on $4,000 personally.
That's why I withdrew my motion.
I would appreciate, and I think this is fairly solvable, if we get down to mayor's report, which is not on here, by the way, that you start every 2 weeks giving us a summary report of what's been going on in your life, where you've been, so on and so forth, within reason, within a couple minutes. At the same time that Jesse gives us a report, and those should mesh pretty well. I would be totally satisfied with that. Me too. Personally.
I think that's
Thank you.
reasonable.
That's all.
Okay. Okay. I think that's reasonable. Alderman Dixon.
I totally agree with my partner here in Ward 4. I do not think we need to overregulate our mayor's record keeping, and I think that it's just $4,000 and between a car and a phone is just, it's within reason, and it's small. And I don't think we need to enact any more reporting and put it within an ordinance. That's my opinion. I won't support it. Thanks.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Alderman Dixon. Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Waters, go ahead.
Thank you again. I want to follow up to Alderman Collins' comments. She mentioned something about training a minute ago. How many has not been to our Citizen Academy training? Has not been?
The Citizen Police Academy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2. Okay. If you want some training, go to that training. I think it's 8 weeks? 8 weeks? But if you want to get some training on protecting your home, protecting yourself, I encourage you to go to that. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Alderman Waters, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
I think that I agree with Alderman Brown. I think we're spending a lot of time on this, so I would like to make a suggestion to the motion of the amendment, Alderman Collins, to withdraw, and the mayor has told us that he will do this, and I'm sure that he will. Let's not overregulate. The mayor has agreed to it. We have a gentleman's agreement, and let's move forward. So I would like to withdraw my second and just go with the gentleman's agreement that the mayor is going to do this going forward. And if it doesn't work, we can always come back. But let's try to do it informally.
So the current motion is from Alderman Petrelli with a second from Alderman Campbell. That's the
Okay.
current motion.
All right. She amended.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Well, okay.
So Alderman Collins.
No, I was a little confused because I thought we were off of that one too.
Okay. Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Alderman Brown. Just make it part of the mayor's report every 2 weeks. Give us a kind of a rundown outline of what kind of business that was conducted. And I have to also mention that not only I was threatened, but my family members have been publicly threatened in public places. So I understand where you're coming from. You have small children. I have family members that were threatened, and we had to file a police report with Goodlettsville. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Cunningham.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
yes.
to withdraw my second.
Okay.
Based on Alderman Brown's logical thought process there on the mayor's report being put back into the itinerary. So anyways, I understand that. I mean, I just want some accountability and some ideas to what $4,000 is getting us, basically. So thank you very much, and I appreciate that.
Alderman Campbell, thank you. Alderman Petrelli has a motion to, she has withdrawn that. I think that's a very reasonable request for a mayor's report to include that. Yes, there needs to be some accountability for that, absolutely. We're back on the main motion of the budget that has been amended once tonight. We have nobody else in the queue wishing to discuss. All those in favor of approving second and final reading ordinance 2021-22 as we've amended it here tonight, please signify by saying aye or pressing the button. Those opposed, please press the red button. We can go ahead and vote now. Passes unanimously. Thank you all. Next, we have first reading ordinance 2021-23. This is an ordinance establishing a municipal special committee to study and propose a plan for the naming of the city's structures and facilities. Alderman Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. First
I need you to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. And we have a second from Alderman Waters. Alderman Robertson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And first, I want to thank this board for its support for this idea when I brought it up several weeks ago. And I'd have just some very brief comments. Hopefully tonight we will set in motion the creation of a facility naming commission made up of citizens that will recommend to this board a policy that will guide us on future actions. I did not endeavor in proposing this.
Alderman Robertson, hold on one second. We've got a point of order over here from Alderman Brown. Help me out, Alderman Brown.
Point of clarification on 20, 21, 23. Page 63, there is no legislative history. It did go to general committee on June the 8th. I guess that is history. The committee recommendations were to, it was amended. The amendment was to strike Section 4, Item E, the Hendersonville Poet Laureate, and add in its place a member of the Parks Board.
So what we've got here is we need to correct an error on page 63. Alderman Brown, we'll come back to you to make that amendment in just a few minutes. But just to let everybody know, there's an error on page 63 in the under committee recommendation.
62. Item E, 62. And committee recommendation.
Right, okay. We'll come back to you in just a few minutes. Okay, appreciate that. Alderman Robertson, sorry to interrupt you. If you want to start over, feel free.
No, I'll just pick up. I did not endeavor in proposing this ordinance without much careful thought and reflection. I've worked hard to present to you a citizen-based committee that is representative of our city and one that I feel is unbiased. I feel that it's very important that a fresh look by unbiased citizens is the best path towards success. Therefore, I sought categories of Hendersonville citizens that I thought could offer objective and unique perspectives and diversity rather than naming individuals specifically. I envision the ultimate policy that we will decide will guide current and future BOMAs in the possible naming of not only parks, but fire stations, police buildings, public work facilities, and even possibly the meeting room at City Hall of where we presently convene. So I sought citizens that I thought could provide a fresh look at this, at a policy recommendation to this board. Finally, I want to assure this board that I'll do everything I can to make this committee a success. And I hope that no one tries to preempt the good work of this committee. I just want to remind everyone here of my motion on April the 27th that set the wheels in motion for this ordinance tonight. And I quote, "My motion will delay the naming of any city facility until this board, after community involvement, sets a policy. To facilitate such community involvement, my motion would further call for the appointment of a blue ribbon ad hoc committee made up of local citizens to explore the topic and make a recommendation to the general committee and on to this board, close quote. So I asked, in your consideration of this ordinance tonight, I asked for common agreement for the intent of this ordinance, 2021-23. And with that, Mayor, I move approval. I don't support the motion that was made in general, because frankly, the Parks Board has already kind of talked on this issue by the naming, the recommendation to this board of naming a park. So again, I want a fresh look at this. I want somebody that has not already voiced opinions on this or voted on this matter. And so I wish that Alderman or Chairman Brown would reconsider that, because I think that the Citizens Committee that I'm recommending is representative, and it provides that fresh look. So with that, I have no other comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the ordinance, especially the discussion that we had 2.5 or 3 months ago in this room. This will help that quite a bit. However, that discussion really has nothing to do with this ordinance. This ordinance is for a committee to set guidelines and perspectives on what a park or facility, how they would be named, not who it would be named after or for or whatever else. So I do think that since we have so many parks in the city and some of those carry names, they all carry some sort of name, Drake's Creek Park, Volunteer Park, that the Parks Board has also requested that they have representation on this committee, and I just feel that it would be good business to do that. It's still a very strong committee, community-wise, and I think it would be viable to say that everyone on that Parks Board are all community-minded citizens that have been nominated and voted on by this board to represent that Parks Board. So I think that's a good amendment, and we'll stick with that. So, thank you.
Are you making a motion?
I am.
What is it? We're replacing in the text in E, is that correct?
Text and E to appoint one member of the Parks Board.
Okay, and who makes that appointment? Is it the Parks Board? Is it us?
Would be the Parks Board.
So the Parks Board elects a member to serve on this
Yeah.
committee? Okay,
The same way the Planning Commission would appoint a person.
okay, and it has to be a member of the Parks Board?
Yes.
Okay,
Just
okay.
like Planning Commission has to be, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second from Alderman Cunningham. Let's see, Alderman Hayes.
I don't want to speak on the, on
Okay.
that.
Here, go ahead and press your button again, please, and we'll come back to you. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to address a comment to the Alderman in Ward 4, if I may. Which one did you take off of the section, in Section 4, Alderman Brown?
I believe it's number E.
E?
E.
Why would you take off number E?
Well, in our discussion in the general committee meeting, what I had told the committee, which you were part of, Mr. Waters, that we could basically replace any of those on there, B, C, D, E.
Answer my question, please.
I
Why
just
did you
did.
delete item E?
I just did.
You just did. Do you know what that represents?
Do I know what that represents?
Do you know what that wording means in item E? Do you know who Alderman Robinson is referring to?
I absolutely do. He's in my ward, and I know him well.
But you don't think that person's qualified to be on this committee?
I didn't say that.
You
All I said is
didn't
that-
have to say it. When you delete
I'm
them,
not going to argue with you, Jim.
Alderman Waters, anything else?
I'm just disappointed he would take that one
You're
and delete
welcome
it.
to change it to B, C, D, whoever you want it to. I just think there needs to be representation by the Parks Board.
You-
Doesn't matter which one you remove.
You made your comment, thank you.
Alderman Waters, thank you. Alderman Brown, thank you. Alderman Edwards.
Okay, has anybody spoken with our poet laureate, whatever, to see if he is willing or wants to serve on this board or this commission?
Alderman Robertson.
I have not, because I wanted to see if this board would agree that that person would be a good candidate. So I have not.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Brown, would you consider, and I agree with you, I think we do need to have a Parks Board representation, because if it weren't for the Parks Board, we wouldn't be discussing this tonight. So I do agree we need to have somebody from the Parks Board, but I think that should either be somebody we pick or the mayor. That's so there's no, I don't want the Parks Board to have to embarrass somebody or call out any of the Parks Board members and try to embarrass them or put them on the spot. And I'm leaning towards, I would rather have the mayor be the one appoint someone from the Parks Board. It was unanimous, I understand, from the Parks Board to rename the park, so they were all on board with this. So I would rather have us or the mayor make that appointment from the Parks Board. I'm leaning towards, I would probably rather have the mayor do it, just so no one's called out. There's no Parks Board members that are embarrassed. They're not vying for this position. So I would like to know, Alderman Brown, what you thought of that. If you would be willing to amend your motion to include that, instead of the Parks Board picking their own.
Alderman Brown, do you want to answer that?
Well, I'm actually thinking about that, so,
We can come back to you.
no, I can answer it, I think. You know, item D says a member of the Hendersonville Municipal Planning Commission appointed by the members of the Hendersonville Municipal Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, in its form, basically does the same thing the Parks Board does. So, that is the basic reason I said that. The one member of the Hendersonville League of Women Voters, they will appoint their own person. So, again, I would say, Alderman Edwards, this has nothing to do with what the Parks Board talked about naming the facility 2.5 or 3 months ago. This is about naming the criteria to name those facilities and/or parks. So I think the Parks Board are I serve as a liaison, and I think they do a pretty good job, and I think they're extremely capable of finding a person to serve. So I'll leave it as is, but I'm welcome to strike C and replace it, strike D and replace it, strike E and replace it. I'm not going to die on a hill on any of those. I don't think we should strike A. That's the mayor's designee. I don't think we should strike B. I think Historical Zoning Commission would be a good appointment. So I think G is a fairly good appointment. Oh, that's you. So I think that's a pretty good appointment. So, no, I just think it would be fair that they pick their own person, and that's not a setup either way. So
Okay, and
if y'all don't like that, vote against it.
yeah, I see your point, and I think you bring out a valid point that the Planning Commission is appointing their own. Based on what you said, I would support the Parks Board, at least on first reading, appointing their own. I would like for someone to reach out, because this is an ordinance, so obviously it has 2 readings. I would like for somebody to reach out to the poet laureate and see if he wants to serve on this before we eliminate him on second reading. But on first reading, I would support a Parks Board member chosen by the Parks Board, and we can maybe speak with the laureate and maybe pick somebody else to add a Parks Board member too on second reading. Thank you.
Alderman Edwards, thank you. Alderman Hayes.
I just wonder if there's a compromise that could be made and add 2 members, additional members to the committee, so you still have an odd number if they vote and when they vote. The more the merrier.
I don't know.
You don't see anybody shaking their head yes to that.
Really?
What about if one's an alternate? Because sometimes not everyone's going to be there. And so then that alternate could vote when it was an even number.
One of the problems we're sort of running into is that we put this off for so many months, and we're getting close to bumping up against that deadline.
Yeah.
So at some point, we either have to make some decisions or amend I think it's a resolution that we passed before, and give ourselves more time. So I'll just clarify that way, and I'll hand the floor back to you.
I'd be willing to reach out to the poet laureate.
Anything else, Alderman Hayes?
No.
At least I
Thank
called
you.
you by the correct last name. Alderman Collins. Yes, Alderman Collins.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I feel like the mayor in this committee is already appointing 3 people from different groupings of people, and leaving this. So along those lines, I would like to include language to clarify that the League of Women Voters would be appointed by the League of Women Voters. It doesn't currently state that. That's how we've spoken of it, but it doesn't actually say that.
Can we come back and deal with that after we deal with this?
Sure.
I think it's a sensible motion to make. Anything else on this item?
No.
Okay. Go ahead and press your button after I
Oh.
turn you off. Thank you. Let's see. Alderman Petrelli.
Mayor, a couple of questions. I guess this question is for John Bradley. Why is this an ordinance?
Same reason that the Deer Committee was an ordinance. This is just a recommendation of something that's going to be permanent in nature. They're going to ask for a policy. You could do a resolution if you wanted to, I suppose. Then we'd only go through this once.
Okay. The second point is, and I know y'all are still kind of hammering out how many members we're going to have on this committee here, which seems to have changed since its original inception a couple months ago. But the legislation says the naming committee shall consist of 8 members, but in parentheses it says 7. So we just need to clean up that language when however many members is decided upon. Thank you.
We've solved the problem right there, Alderman Hayes. We have 7 members. Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. We will fix that in just a second. Alderman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Edwards is the board liaison. Liaisons usually don't vote, are non-voting members of boards, so I'm just curious, will he have a vote in that committee or not? If that's the case, then you're back to 6 voting members, and we need a tiebreaker.
The way this is written, he would be a voting member.
So he's not really, would he be considered the liaison, though? I mean,
No. It's a similar situation with Lee Peterson, is that Lee Peterson is sort of
on
the
the planning
liaison, but
committee.
he votes on the planning commission.
okay. So, okay. Thank you for clarifying, because I saw the word liaison. I thought, hey, we don't normally vote as liaisons. We just provide input to the committee and let the citizens do the job. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman
Appreciate it.
Campbell, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I would encourage the board to pass this on the first reading, and then we can do our due diligence in, 2 weeks from now, if we have any questions like the poet laureate. But I would encourage you to pass it with, and just substituting the member of the Parks Board in there under E. We could always change it back if we have to, but we have to talk to all these people, too, to make sure that everybody's willing to serve. So I would, just comment that and recommend that we do our due diligence within the next 2 weeks and then clean it up a little bit in 2 weeks from now. But just pass it and be done with it right now. Thank you.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Robertson, I sort of meant to put you at okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? The current amendment we have in front of us is to replace the text in line E with a Parks Board member elected by the Parks Board. All those in favor of that amendment, please signify by hitting your green button. Those opposed, please hit your red button. That passes 7-6. Now we're back on the main motion, but before we do that, we need to, Alderman Collins, you were going to make a motion for an amendment?
Yes. I would like to amend this to clarify that the League of Women Voters will appoint their own member.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, that the member of the League of Women Voters will be appointed by the League of Women Voters. And we have a second from Alderman Edwards. Jason, can you bring up that previous vote for me? I'd said when we started doing electronic voting that I would read off on votes that were divided. Yeah, can you pull that up so I can see it on my screen? Okay. We'll take care of that in just a few minutes. So we have a motion and a second to amend this so that item F will be a member of League of Women Voters appointed by the League of Women Voters. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Let's just shout it out. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Brown, you want to fix our 8-7 item up there, is that correct?
Say again, sir.
Under the naming committee shall consist of 7 members.
7.
So we need to cross out EIGHT and write SEVEN. So Alderman Brown makes that motion.
Yes.
I'll second. And a second from Alderman Hayes. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of making that correction, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back to the main motion. We've amended it 3 times. One is to correct the item under section 4. There'll be 7 members. The next is to add language in item F that the League of Women Voters will appoint that person that will represent the League of Women Voters. And the other is item E, that we will remove that text so the Hendersonville Port Laureate will no longer be part of this committee, but instead will be a member of the Parks Board elected by the Parks Board. Any other discussion? All those, we're going to use the buttons. All those in favor, press the green button. All those opposed, please press the red one. We're missing 2. Missing 2 folks. There we go. So that passed, Alderman Petrelli, Alderman Skidmore, and Alderman Waters voting no. So we're finished with that. By the way, anytime you all want me to request that the votes be electronically, feel free. I'm just trying to speed things along, and that's why sometimes we do it by voice. So we are now under. We finished that. Is that correct? Okay. Now we're into the group items, which under ordinances and resolutions are items C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. C is second and final reading ordinance 2021-20. This is an ordinance amending the budget ordinance 2020-20 to appropriate funds in the amount of $14,000 from the general fund to the finance department line item reappraisal expense. Item D is second and final reading of ordinance 2021-21, an ordinance amending the budget ordinance 2020-20 to appropriate funds in the amount of $16,688 from the general fund to the parks department line item insurance claims reimbursement. Item E is second and final reading ordinance 2021-24, an ordinance amending budget ordinance 2020-20 to appropriate funds in the amount of $826.92 from general fund to the Parks Department line item scoreboards. Item F is second and final reading of ordinance 2021-25. This is an ordinance fixing the rate of taxation for the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is the same rate that we currently have in this current fiscal year for next fiscal year. Item G is reading of resolution 2021-30. This is a resolution amending the job classification list and pay table. Item H is resolution 2021-31, a resolution authorizing the city of Hendersonville to contribute to certain nonprofit organizations by appropriations in the annual general fund operating budget. Item I is resolution 2020-34, a resolution to adopt the most current building valuation data from the International Codes Council. I need a motion. We have a motion from Alderman Hayes and a second from Alderman Waters to consider all of these items together. We are not voting to group these. We are voting to approve these. All those in favor of approving items C, D, E, F, G, H, I, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Did I hear no? That passes unanimously. Now we have other agenda items. We have item A, and these are considered as a group. Item A, B, C, and D. These are appointments. First one is the vote on the appointment of Sarah Hilton to serve on the Deer Herd Monitoring Committee. The second one is an appointment of Gene Hively to serve on the Arts Council. This third one, item C, is the appointment of William Clifford to serve on the Arts Council. The item D is the appointment of Renee Shepard to serve on the Arts Council. I need a motion. We have a motion from Alderman Waters. And a second from Alderman Cunningham. Again, this is not to group these. This is to approve these items. All those in favor, please. Yes, go ahead, Alderman Skidmore.
Thank you very much. Could you tell us what wards these folks are in? I'm putting you on the spot. But.
Oh, that's fine. Let me turn some pages.
Thank you very much. If it's on the agenda, I missed it. Thank you. That's what you.
So Sarah Hilton is 5. Gene Hively is Ward 3. William Clifford is Ward 3. And Renee Shepherd, who possibly might go by the name Reenie, she is Ward, is Ward 5. Alderman Collins, is it Renee? Thank you.
It's Ward 5.
William Clifford?
Am I wrong about that?
Hold on one second, Alderman Skidmore, we're trying to get you answers.
Yeah.
All right.
Clifford is 5.
Okay, here we go. There we go, okay. Okay. Any other discussion on these items? Again, we're voting to approve these, not just to group them. All those in favor of approving the appointments in items A, B, C, D, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have brief committee reports. Chairman Cunningham, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. We did not have our Finance Committee meeting tonight, but I did want to report on our local sales tax collections. Actual versus actual, our actual from last year to this year, our increase in sales tax has increased year over year by $2,332,976, or an increase of 18.46%, which is wonderful news. The other big number is the comparing our 2021 actual versus our 2021 budgeted items on the sales tax, increase of $4,175,313, or 134.79% over the budgeted items from last year. From this year. So we're well on pace to hit that $4 million mark by the end of next month. And that is the end of my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Chairman Cunningham, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works Committee.
Yes, thank you. I just have a couple of items to discuss because we had a meeting tonight. But the first thing I do want to discuss is about our paving. I want to let everybody know of all the discussions that we've had, and especially about the last couple of meetings we had when we were all in discussion up here, and I think it was about 19, and this board approved the spending of the money. There's been a discrepancy on the money, but I wanted to give you an actual reality of what the money was, and I'll try to get that to you because I'll be more than happy to do this. But it was about 19 streets that we got up here and discussed about, and I just want you all to know that not only are those 19 streets completed and paved, we finished it 2 weeks early. 2 weeks. And I am proud, extremely proud of the Rogers Group. I'm extremely proud of Marshall because I knew he could do it. And I believed him. I believed in him. When all chips were fading on him a little bit, and I'm not trying to criticize this board, but you put us under the gun, and I knew I had faith in him. I have faith in Public Works, period, and I said it. So, Marshall, I want to thank you, buddy. I really do, because, you know, when you finish projects, especially paving, people don't understand how hard that is. But when you finish a project 2 weeks early, that's pretty amazing. And I want to tell you, and you tell everybody in Public Works what I said. I'm proud of them, of the hard work the engineering department did, and especially the Rogers Group. But we're not finished. You know, 2 weeks, heck, we're going to try to finish it. You know, the next time we do paving, we're going to try it a month early. So, you know, we'll do everything we can to do it. So I wanted to let the board know what your Public Works Committee, with Lee Peterson, Eddie, outstanding job, gentlemen. You believed in them too.
Yes.
When nobody else, you know, there were a few, and I don't want to start any arguments, but there were some that I firmly believe in my heart that doubted us that we could do it. But I'm just proud of them. I'm ecstatic tonight. I don't even know if I'll be able to sleep.
But I'm proud of you, and if there's anything that, we're on to the next projects. We've got drainage projects that are coming. We're going to try to make that, like I said, a month early. I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to let you all know that those 19 streets are completed, and we're continuing our work, and, in all seriousness, we're continuing our work in Public Works. The other one is for the board members. I want you all to get from the Parks Department, just call, if you don't have one already, to Andy, and he'll give you a copy of the 5-year master plan that we've got. Incredible work, and I'll tell you, this really was, Kimley and Horn did it for us. Never met those folks in my life. I met them tonight. I was impressed by this. It really gives us an idea of where Parks Department wants to go. So I would ask you that Eddie asked really tremendous amount of questions that were very insightful and thoughtful. And so I encourage you to get this. We're going to try to get them to come in the next couple of weeks to come to the board and give us as a board this same report, because I think you'll be kind of surprised. It kind of gives us where we are in comparison to everybody in the, not everybody, but a select few of cities within the state of Tennessee. And I think you'll be surprised, and sometimes you'll be sad a little bit on where we have fallen on the wayside of supporting the parks. But there's opportunities for us to advance if you so desire that. So if you don't have this master plan, try to get it from the Parks, Andy at the Parks Department. You'll be glad you did. And also, we passed Resolution 2021-35 as a resolution to allow the Parks Department to seek the grant funds, which is going to be coming to this board in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be able to discuss it again at a further, which I don't, we're doing really good on time tonight. So I want to, sum it up by one thing: trash pickup, and then I'll close. I can't say that. I'm sorry. That's my eyes. But trash pickup, July 4th is on the weekend this time. Is believe it or not. So our trash pickup should not hurt us. We're going to be in the everything's going to be picked up. Am I right? Yep. So believe it or not, we're not going to have any trash that shouldn't be, knock on wood, up at the street or in the back, that because of the July 4th. It's all going to be picked up. Oh, yes. Thank you. And thank you, Eddie. And tonight, we also passed about the cell tower, and then I want to talk specifically to the alderman from Ward 4, both aldermen. We chose, what did I do with it? I have it here. Crown Castle as the person who should do the cell tower down there in the Indian Lake area, and that is Ward 4. And what we want to do is get with you guys, either have Marshall or myself or any of the aldermen that serve on that committee, and try to get a time certain for you guys so we can have a public, like a public hearing or a public notice where everybody, we can get down in that area of ward of your districts or your district, and where everybody can come and talk to see if they want, to talk to us about it. Can we do it here? Yes, we could do it here. I'd have to ask the mayor if that was okay. Could we do that, Mayor?
We can do that here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we can put it right in here in this room right here. And we'll be there along with you guys. We'll be there, both Alderman Dixon and Alderman Brown. And our committee will be there. And thank you, Eddie, for doing that for me. He did real hard work on getting that, and we voted tonight to have Crown do it. And that continues. That's the end of my report, Mayor.
You got a couple questions. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. 3 budgets ago, we appropriated $300,000 out of the stormwater utility for East Drive repairs. I haven't heard a thing about it since. Marshall's kind of nodding his head. You got a update?
Yeah,
One of
what
you
we
on
do,
where
but
we're
Marshall,
at
do
on
you
that?
want to come up with that? Because that's more of a specific, we're getting ready to get into all of the drainage issues in Hendersonville.
You're on.
So,
Yes, we have geotech investigating the rock. We've identified where the pipe needs to go, and we just now need to know if there's how deep the rock is to be able to put the pipe in. And so Trace and our crews are looking at that project, and we hope to start very, very soon. It's in our next list of projects to complete.
By the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Thanks.
Alderman Brown, thank you. Alderman Dixon, did you have a question for the chairman? Okay, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, thank you.
thank you, sir.
Jesse?
Thank you. And to dovetail off of Alderman Skidmore, I want to give a shout out to Public Works. We had a retirement party for Larry Pearson, served 44 years out at the yard. And the comment that I got from the folks out there was he was the glue that held the department out there together. So thank you, Larry. You're probably not watching tonight, but thank you for your service. In addition to that, we talked about roads getting done, and Trace Burkett is a driving force behind what happens out there on the road. So a big thank you to Trace. Anything that happens in the city, if it's storm damage, I started to think, well, when do I call Trace? And it's whenever there's a problem. So that basically summed it up. So Trace, thank you for your work. Thank you for getting all the roads done 2 weeks ahead of time. And they're already starting their schedule for the pavement for the next fiscal year. So that's already in the works. So hopefully we're done a month early next year. Division Chief Daryl Chance is retiring after 33 years. I got the opportunity to do a ride along with him. What a great guy he is. It's going to be a big loss to the city. So Daryl, we wish you the best and thank you for your service. In addition to that, Chief Bush sent me an email from 2 different folks who had called in and sent comments over in the Indian Lake area over a period of 2 weeks from Shift A, Shift B, and Shift C. And these were the comments that he got when he was speaking with the folks who were serviced by our firemen and the calls that he got. The firemen acted as servants. They were polite and professional. Staff went way above their job scope. They were caring and compassionate to my mother and father. They took time out to assure that I was okay and explained exactly what they were doing. They handled my loved one with kid gloves and communicated very well with them. Great bedside manner. They are angels. On 2 separate occasions, they took the extra time to help change sheets, undergarments, and even cleaned up my family member. So thank you, Fire, for all that you do. These are the great comments we like to get. A lot of times we hear the negative, so thank you for your service and going above and beyond. Last but not least, in the Parks Department, this is an email that Mr. Gilly sent me that we got from Jeremy Granat. And it says, good afternoon. I would like to congratulate Dylan. Where's Dylan's last name up here? Dylan Jordan on passing his playground safety inspector course today. This is a great accomplishment for him personally and for the Hendersonville Parks Department. So if you see him over the next week or 2, please give him a congrats for his hard work. He and Trevor have been putting in the study time it takes to be successful on this exam. We wish Trevor the best of luck next week as he will be attending the class to take his exam. Great job, Dylan. Dylan, we know this is a hard test to pass. I know many people who have taken it 3, 4, 5 times and not passed it, so congratulations. And now we're going to have a second Parks staff take it, I think, next week. So good luck on that. Thank you. Big shout out to the Parks Department, and that concludes my presentation.
One item left on the agenda. We have a motion from Alderman Campbell and a second from Alderman Cunningham to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. We're adjourned. Thank you, Jason. Thank you.